Anyway, we're going to start off with the Zohran momentum that is taking place, okay? The Zohran momentum that's taking place in the New York City mayoral race. As you guys know, the people's princess is not I, but actually is Zohran Kwame Mamdani, friend of the show Zohran. The Zohmentum, it's real, it's happening. He has cut away at the 30-point lead that Andrew Cuomo had in the New York City's mayoral race primaries that are happening. The Democratic Party mayoral primaries are taking place in New York City very soon, as a matter of fact. And it is ranked choice voting. And even with ranked choice voting, Andrew Cuomo, once he dropped his hat into the ring and said, I'm running for mayor of New York, I'm black, I'm gay, I'm Muslim, I'm trans, I'm Andrew Cuomo, I killed your grandparents, and I want to be mayor of New York. Everybody in New York seemingly was like, I recognize that last name. Cuomo's are a dynasty in New York politics. I'll vote for them. Because I guess everyone is very stupid and everyone's basically a drone. However, with an immense amount of ground game, a relatively lesser known New York State Assembly member by the name of Zohran Kwame Mamdani came out of nowhere seemingly and revealed his political convictions, wore his heart on his sleeve, and was endlessly charismatic. And as a consequence of that, and with the incredible ground game and the real momentum that he had, he was able to make a name for himself and cut away from the rest of the pile and become a serious contender to Andrew Cuomo. At first, when Cuomo came in, he basically had a 30-point, 40-point lead. As of yesterday, some of the latest polls that came out, some that came out before the AOC endorsement, others that came out after the AOC endorsement, Andrew Cuomo and Zohran are dead to rights, head to head, locked in. Zohran is only trailing behind Andrew Cuomo by 2 points, with Andrew Cuomo looking at 51% in the final round of ranked choice voting, with Zohran getting all the way up to 49%. And of course, because, our media is so insane, a big part of the way that people are trying to hammer Zohran, who is Muslim and a socialist, and also a massive advocate, a very outspoken advocate for Palestinian emancipation, okay? People are hammering him on the Israel stuff. They just constantly keep bringing up Israel in situations where it's not pertinent to whether or not he'd be a good fucking mayor for New York. But regardless of that, here is some new information. New York City DSA came out with a release. As far too often Jewish New Yorkers who stand for justice are told they are not real Jews, but our Jewish members know demanding leadership that puts working class people first is living our values. That's why Jewish DSA members will be ranking Zohran Mamdani #1 on 6/24. June 24th is when the date of the New York Democratic mayoral race primary happens. But of course, early voting starts, I believe, in 3 days. I think it starts on the 14th, right? Am I right about that? But yeah, there's a new poll that came out as well that's showing once again that this community was right, and that we've always been right, and that we should be unafraid to say the truth about Israel. And as long as you keep pushing, as long as you keep up the pressure, you will become undeniable. You will become unavoidable. Okay? Here it is. Far too often, Jewish New Yorkers who stand for justice are told they are not real Jews. Let's take a look at the New York City DSA video.
I'm a Jewish New Yorker.
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 And I'm ranking Zohran #1 in the Democratic primary on June 24th.
Again and again, Jews and socialists are targeted, scapegoated, and villainized by the fascist far right and their corrupt cronies.
Even in 2025, when we stand up for the right to free speech,
For the human rights of our Muslim siblings.
For due process under the law.
We're told by some that we're...
Dude, I love the old DSA heads. Like, they've been at this for so goddamn long. Sorry, it's just something. When I see the old DSA heads, it's like, I have the same reverence and respect that I do for like the Code Pink. Okay, the ladies that do Code Pink, they're amazing.
We're told by some that we're self-hating.
We're told we're traitors.
Not real Jews.
But what Andrew Cuomo doesn't know is that the struggle for freedom and justice is central to Judaism and has been for thousands of years.
My Judaism informs my values, my
This is so funny because like there will be people who are super fucking aggro and be like, this is Jewish exceptionalism. It's like, dude, they're trying to win an election. Okay, shut the fuck up before you start being like, oh, who cares? Whatever. You're fucking stupid. I don't want to hear from you. See yourself out of this business. Go back to protesting. You're important when it comes to that sort of stuff. But when it comes to electoralism, sit this out. It's fine. You think it's a bourgeois election. You think it's not significant. So why have this level of animosity? You know what I mean? Don't. Just sit it out. It's not for you. It's okay. It's not for you. We'll have other conversations about, building the vanguard or something like that. But, don't get involved in this if you're not interested or invested in the bourgeois elections, okay?
socialist politics, and my vote.
A lot of mayoral candidates are claiming that they stand with Jewish New Yorkers.
But when they share their vision of the city, it's one of division, hate, and corruption.
A New York City where the mayor's friends profit from
Sean the Black, thank you for the raid. Hope you had a good stream, brother.
their connections, while Trump's goon squads can disappear anyone they think is un-American.
I trust Zohran Mamdani to stand up for me and my Jewish community.
For all New Yorkers.
As a Jewish DSA member, I'm proud to stand alongside people of all faiths to say no to Andrew Cuomo's corruption.
And yes to Zohran Mamdani's vision for the New York City we all deserve.
That means yes to fast and free buses, universal childcare, and freezing the rent. If Andrew Cuomo thinks that makes me less of a Jew,
That's just one more reason why he's unfit to represent us.
paid for by Zohran for NYC.
Yeah. Fantastic. Also, here is some incredible information. This is an all-time low for the Israelis and an all-time high for the Palestinians. The Quinnipiac University poll began asking this question in 2001. Voters were asked whether their sympathies lie more with the Israelis or more with the Palestinians based on what they know about the situation in the Middle East. 37% of voters say the Israelis, while 32% say the Palestinians, and 31% did not offer an opinion. This is an all-time low for the Israelis and an all-time high for the Palestinians since the Quinnipiac University poll began asking this question of registered voters in December 2001. Among Republicans, 64% say the Israelis, while 7% say the Palestinians, and 29% did not offer an opinion. Among Democrats, 12% say the Israelis, while 60% say the Palestinians, and 29% did not offer an opinion. Majority Israeli is sad, though? No. That's not a majority. That's a plurality, okay? That's number one. And that's all voters, okay? All voters. Do you not see how unimaginably invested the Republicans are in offering sympathies to Israel and not offering any sympathy to the Palestinians? Okay? Obviously, that kind of distorts the overall numbers a little bit, don't you think? I am going to relitigate this over and over again. I'm going to repeat this over and over again. Among Democrats, 12% say Israelis is where their sympathy lies with. 60% say Palestinians. 29% did not offer an opinion. Among independents, 38% say Israelis, while 30% say Palestinians. 31% did not offer an opinion. Okay? That is crazy. Chatters are blind if they are not taking these results in the context of 70 years of pro-Israel propaganda from both parties and only 2 years of Palestinian justice movement. Exactly. This right here is what I've been saying, that this issue has officially become polarized. It has become a partisan issue. This is AIPAC's worst nightmare. This is the Israel lobby's worst nightmare because they have been pumping Democrats with incredible amounts of money, specifically to avoid this reality that this is uniparty, okay? This is supposed to be a uniparty issue. It is no longer seen as a uniparty issue. This is no longer uniparty, at least in the minds and the eyes of the Democratic Party's voters, okay? This is what I've been saying. I kept repeating over and over again in the past election cycle that the Democrats should actually at least tackle the issue of Israel from a partisan framework. If they don't care about the humanity of the Palestinians, they have to tackle this from a partisan framework at the very least. To be like, why do the Republicans care so much about giving unlimited amounts of money to a foreign country that's doing a lot of violence? If you don't want to say genocide, you can say they're doing a lot of war crimes, for example. You know what I mean? There's plenty of avenues for cowardly politicians to make a name for themselves in a perfectly sociopathic, cold, calculated manner. Trump approval on the issues from the Quinnipiac poll. Immigration, 54% to 43% disapprove. The economy, 56 to 40% disapprove. Israel-Hamas conflict, 52 to 35 disapprove. Russia-Ukraine war, 57 to 34 disapprove. Trade, 57 to 38 disapprove. Deportations, 56 to 40% disapprove. University, 54 to 37% disapprove. He's in the red for everything, right? This means that they're disapproving, right? Not that they're approving. I think, or am I misunderstanding it? Yeah, no, this is, I mean, it wouldn't make sense if it was like if it was like 34% approving of Russia-Ukraine or 38% approving of trade. I mean, 57% approving of trade. Trump is in the red. Do you worry that Democrats who value Zionism more than their Democrat identity will leave the party altogether? Speaking from personal experience, there are those who think the party is way too far left now. I mean, people claim that is a problem all the fucking time. Okay, Trump's approval, according to Quinnipiac, okay, went from 46 to 43 to officially now 46% approval, 43% disapproval, to 45% approval, 49% disapproval, to 42% approval, 53% disapproval in March, and to its highest point of disapproval now since the beginning of his reign, to 54% disapproval, 38% approval. Now, that number is still higher, I think. His approval numbers can go lower than 38, certainly. His approval numbers can still go lower than 38. He's in the red, obviously. He's in the red on all of his issues, including the issues that were supposed to be incredibly popular, issues that allowed him to win the election. Immigration is at 54% disapproval, as opposed to 43% approval. Make no mistake, as I told you time and time again, this is a direct consequence of, one, people starting to realize how certain things look when they actually experience it, as opposed to the theoretical lies that they believe in from the administration. People might think that they want mass deportations, but when mass deportations come knocking down their doorstep, they don't like it. They don't like the way it looks. They don't like the way it feels. But these numbers of disapproval would be significantly higher if the Democrats actually had a fucking backbone. Make no mistake. This is organic. This disapproval is simply organic. Okay? Deportations have a 56% disapproval rating as opposed to the 40% approval rating. You're losing. I'm losing. I mean, I'm not a part of the Democratic Party. I'm not a part of the Republican Party. I don't know what do you think I'm a politician or something? Also, do you not understand how numbers work? Also, why can't any Republican ever write correctly? Like they don't know how to do grammar. English is my second language. Why are you guys so stupid? Why? Every damn day. It's the homeschooling. I just don't get it. Cleanly? What? Okay. Well, good luck, chatter. It's really frustrating because like we're currently looking at numbers that immediately disprove what that chatter thinks is happening. And he's like, nah, I don't believe it. It must be fake news. You're still losing. And I guess part of that is because of like Twitter and the echo chambers that Republicans have where they unironically believe their own bullshit. Like it doesn't end up making, I don't know, Democrats or independents or third parties look at the situation and go, yeah, I agree. I think that the Republicans are doing a great job. All it does is make you think that all it does is basically offer you a false sense of confidence about the way that the administration's actions are being received broadly, right? I mean, we are not winning either, are we? No, of course not. But make no mistake. Make no mistake. This right here is exactly what I was talking about, that like people will start showing discontent. People are going to get angry at these actions. When Trump promised a whole lot about fixing the economy and then refused to do so, of course people are going to start disapproving of it. When Trump promised immigration, militant immigration and deportations, and then people started experiencing said deportations and the resistance and the reaction to said deportations, and people started getting mad, all of a sudden, people don't like it. People don't like Trump's immigration policies. They don't like the idea of like black bagging people for the crime of speaking out against Israel, for example. They don't like the fact that Only small dick energy people care about polls. Okay, good one. Got it. Okay, well, I mean, I guess you're right, because Donald Trump does care a lot about polls. He freaks out about these polls all the time. He constantly says they're fake. The polls are fake. Do you agree or disagree that Israel is committing a genocide in the Gaza Strip? 38% agree, 26% disagree, 36% are unsure. It is crazy that people are still unsure at this point. It is also even crazier that people disagree. But god damn it, I'm so shocked. It's like been 19, almost 20 months. God damn. Anyway, Legger is a Canadian poster. Oh, this is a Canadian poll. Here.
Lastly, while a mayor is not in charge of you.
Going back to the Zohran thing, though, and how this pertains to the Zohran race, like, the media is fighting a battle that is a lost cause, especially for the Democratic side. Okay? And that is precisely the reason why you don't see a lot of penalties that Zohran is experiencing as a consequence of bravely standing 10 toes down and saying the truth. Okay? Because the population overall recognizes the reality, and the polls show that people are aware of the reality.
U.S. foreign policy, there is one area that I would love some clarification on from Zohran. He has called for the arrest of Israel's democratically elected leader if he sets foot in New York, and not just him, but anyone who has committed war crimes, which could be 1,000 people in the IDF, depending on how they want to define it. So I'd love some clarification on that.
We're going to go to Mr. Walden, and then we'll come back to Assemblymember Mamdani. You can go first. Great. Well, and let me just we'll give you like 30, 60 seconds to respond. But I also just want to hone in. Assemblymember, you've spoken specifically about previously supporting boycotts. Will you continue to support the boycott of Israel if you are elected mayor? And you can also respond to what Mr. Tilson brought up. You can go for it.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I'll answer Mr. Tilson's question after I answer yours. And Mr. Tilson, feel free to let me know if I don't answer it sufficiently. I'm someone that what I've said throughout the course of this campaign is that wherever Eric Adams' administration or another administration has taken us out of compliance with international law, I would bring New York City back into that compliance. My focus will always be on that affordability, but that is the consistency around that compliance. And I think
this is great, because this is part of the reason why while we personally, in a community as radical as this one, might not care about like these liberal institutions and what they have to say, whether it be like NGOs or human rights groups or international organs of justice, it actually plays a major role in offering permission to politicians who are brave enough to say the truth. Zohran is perfectly utilizing the permission given to him by authorities that liberals are supposed to be on board with. This plays a big role in making other people understand the dynamic. Okay? I feel like you should care. Human Rights Watch, and they do important work. Yes, they do. And I agree. Amnesty International, Human Rights Watch all do really important work. But they also sometimes fall into the American foreign policy interest category as well. There are instances like with their coverage on Israel, where they're actually directly antagonistic to American foreign policy. But in most circumstances, their coverage of war crimes and whatnot, their coverage of like America needs them so they can fucking point to all these other countries and say, this is why we have to do violent intervention. Do you understand? This is the reason why people have expressed discontent. I understand their importance. I talk about their importance all the time, but I also recognize that a lot of these NGOs do play that role in the American foreign policy apparatus of justifying American intervention by basically saying like, oh, look at these crimes. Like there's both sides are doing stuff. Both sides are doing bad things. And there have been instances where they have actually brought up false information as well. In direct correspondence with the foreign policy goals of the United States of America. Is USAID far deeper into the imperialist part? I mean, yes, USAID is literally a State Department operation. So, of course, USAID is not separate. The U.S. government will use any source to justify intervention and stuff. So how can the media and NGOs, etc., work to reveal the truth without letting it be used as propaganda? It's impossible. It's also how do I say this? It's also dual use almost, like, because America lets them operate and offers them, the American government lets them operate and offers them some semblance of legitimacy because at times of need they can use their involvement and research as a point to prove why intervention is a necessity. But on the other side, these organizations, in order to maintain credibility, have to also do this kind of thing where they criticize Israel when they're fucking very obviously doing war crimes and doing genocide and ethnic cleansing. Because if they don't do that, then everyone will be like, no one trusts you anymore. Like, look at the ADL as an example of an institution that has like dropped the ball on even for an institution that has dropped the ball as a civil rights organization operating in inside of U.S. boundaries with their hyper focus on anti-Israel sentiment and defending Israel. There's a reason why like it takes a long time, but like liberal institutions no longer trust the ADL in the ways that they used to. Like, they'll still offer a slot to Jonathan Greenblatt, but like, think about it this way. The very fact that like I have not been completely fucking tarred and feathered and banned from every platform is, one, because Jonathan Greenblatt is lying when he says I'm a vicious anti-Semite, but also in the past, if he were to say that, regardless of my actual position, I think that would have a lot more motion. Like, when the truth rarely aligns with the U.S. State Department interest, for instance, of war crimes from Assad, or all of that was true, but it was used for a call of intervention. All of that was true, but it was used to call. Yes, exactly. No, that's what I mean. Exactly. That's precisely what I'm talking about. But also, anyway, let's get back to Zohran for now. The reason why I brought this up, the reason why I brought up the importance of like in 2021, when all of these human rights groups actually all in unison collectively openly revealed that Israel is an apartheid structure, even though it was an apartheid for years and years prior to that, that opened up a new permission structure for those who are in advocacy, those who are involved in Palestinian advocacy, to be able to point back to an institution of authority. So when international instruments of justice also come to that conclusion, it matters in the advocacy side of things. You might get mad and say, well, that's not changing the dynamic at all. But these things, unfortunately, are very bloody affairs and take a fuck ton of time to like detangle billions of dollars of propaganda and a sophisticated network of influence, especially with grassroots mobilization, is going to be a mountainous Herculean task. It's going to take a very long time, and it has. As a matter of fact, things have changed quite dramatically and reversed in an incredibly short period of time, only because of the intensity of Israel's injustice, only because of the violence that Israel subjected the Palestinians to, that people can see on social media. Was at this event. It was a fairly progressive synagogue, but most people there were lib. Myself and 10 others cheered for Zohran and some booed. I was astonished how well Zohran stood for his values in a digestible way for a relatively progressive Israel audience. Yeah.
Ultimately, the focus of our mayor should be on the issues of New York City at hand. Now, to the question.
He does a really good job, in my opinion, of like utilizing liberal frameworks in a way that becomes in a way that becomes like impossible to counter. Like when he says, hey, I believe I'm an advocate for Israel's existence as long as it is a state that offers equal rights and representation to all citizens. Equal rights and representation to all citizens is a foundational liberal principle. Every liberal in their heart of hearts believes this, okay? Even if they don't literally believe it, okay? Even if they, get wishy-washy with it, in that moment of recognition, they have to say they agree with it. They have to say that they believe with it. They abide by those standards. Because the alternative to that is to say, no, I don't think there should be a equal I don't think there should be equal civil liberties to all Palestinians or to a certain group that is declared an underclass. Okay? That it's impossible for a liberal to argue against that unless they just like openly decide, no, separate but equal is good. Oh, I like segregation, especially when we're talking about an election where politicians are directly speaking in the Democratic primary to liberal voters. Okay? Liberal voters will not react positively to any politician that says a foreign state that gets unlimited amounts of money from our government has the right to do segregation. Not just de facto segregation, but de jure segregation, like legalized segregation and apartheid. It's not something that liberals are going to abide by. Liberal voters are going to abide by unless they are insanely invested in Israel existing in the way that it currently does as an apartheid and as a Jewish supremacist ethno state. Why do we need liberals when they will always work against us? I don't know, because everyone at some point, liberalism is a monoculture. Even Republicans are fucking liberals at the end of the day. And not only that, but there's a fuck ton more people who self-identify as liberals in the United States of America than there are socialists. And yourself included was probably a liberal at some point before you realize that there is a distinction between liberalism and socialist values or leftist values or anti-imperialist values. So that's why de jure, not de jure. Okay, sorry. The overwhelming majority of audience members in here were at some point in their lives either liberals or literally Republicans. Okay?
Question around Benjamin Netanyahu. I was asked what I would do after he had just been issued an arrest warrant by the International Court of Justice. My answer is the same whether we are speaking about Vladimir Putin or Netanyahu. I think that this should be a city in compliance with international law. And we have seen other countries across the world who are signatories to the ICC state that they would honor that same request, be it
Hell
Canada
yes.
or other countries.
Hitting out the Vladdy Poo side too. Excellent. Excellent. Really drive home that fucking, either these courts matter or they don't, but we can't cast aside the importance of these decisions being made by the ICC because guess what? Vladdy Poo, big bad guy. He is the big bad, Adolf Putler. I'm here to enforce the law, to protect my citizens of New York, to protect my voters.
Countries in Europe. And their honoring of it meant that Netanyahu did not travel there. And I think it is important to show leadership in a time when it is sorely missing. And there are some who may say that the United States is not a party to the International Criminal Court. Thank you, Whitney. I knew you were going there. And to that I say that there are times when courage is required. There was a time when it was not legal for same-sex couples to be married in this country. And still, then Mayor Gavin Newsom issued marriage certificates for those very couples in defiance of that legislation. What I am trying to showcase is a belief that international law is something that should be honored, should be respected, and something that we should actually bring our city into compliance with.
And just to be very, very clear, so yes, you will continue to support the boycott of Israel as...
I can't hear you.
I said, yeah, just to be very, very clear. So yes, you will continue to support the boycott of Israel if you are elected mayor.
What I would do is ensure that any of my actions moving... Sorry. Let me know when you... That any of my actions moving forward as the mayor of New York City would not be in violation of any of those international laws and ensure that compliance is at the heart of it. That's all I would focus on.
Mr. Walden.
Okay, let me just...
So anyway, this is, good answers overall, great answers overall within the confines of liberal frameworks. Obviously, he is trying to win an election in the Democratic Party primary for the New York mayoral race. So, he's leaning into his audience here. And I think doing a good job without actually casting aside his values. Okay. Why is it always about Israel? Okay, this one was literally in a synagogue specifically for addressing Jewish voter concerns, okay? Like, Puerto Rican statehood would probably be a question if you were to conduct a similar thing with all of the fucking primary mayoral candidates in a, I don't know, like a Puerto Rican cultural center, that's going to be a question, right? Like if he was talking specifically to the Puerto Rican community of New York, okay, and that came out as a question in that regard, that makes sense, right? It doesn't make sense. It does not make sense if you are asking this question in a normal mayoral race on television, and this hyper focus on Israel is like fucking stupid. But obviously there are. This isn't to say that there aren't Jewish New Yorkers who care about Israel. Of course there are, and therefore in this specific setting, it makes sense as to why this question would at least come up. Okay, the synagogue is in New York, not Israel. It's a mayoral race, not even a federal position, guys. In the grand scheme of things, in the New York mayoral primary race, this is considered irrelevant, and I understand that. But the idea that it's not going to come up at all when you're literally speaking to specifically Jewish New Yorkers inside of a synagogue where the setting is about all of the concerns that Jewish New Yorkers have, Israel will be included in this conversation. It makes sense. Like, that is, you know, of course it's going to come up. That makes fucking total sense. Yeah, there are more Jews in New York than in fucking Tel Aviv, dude. What are we talking about? This isn't to say that all Jews care about Israel and this is the number one thing. It's the number one priority. But in a sea of questions about like rent and free transit, like the idea that Israel's not going to come up in that situation is silly. Of course it's going to come up. And it's also especially important because like the United Nations gathers in New York City. So the next mayor of New York City saying that they will abide by the International Criminal Court is a major point. You know what I mean? Especially when there's an active warrant out for the arrest of some global leaders that would potentially participate in the United Nations gathering. Feel me? Smell me? Understand where I'm coming from? Also, Rabbi Indig of Satmar tells the New York Times he's considering adding Zohran Mamdani to his slate of endorsements. According to my conversation, he told me that he's not an anti-Semite. As mayor, we wouldn't have a problem with him. Okay? I am, let me tell you something, okay? B&H. Officially back on my good list. Okay? Satmar is B&H, right? Am I crazy? Yeah, Satmar Hasidism is anti-Zionist. It is the OG. Like I've bought many things from B&H Photo.